As some of you know, one of the surprises of Santa Claus was this tape recorder. And we're just hoping that something may come of this next experiment. We have chosen about 35 pictures that make more or less a record of our greetings, and we're hoping that they may go along with this commentary to explain them a little bit and add something to their meaningfulness. That's a good word. Start off with the two old folks, the grandparents, who are compelled to live in this paradise at Ocean Park. I'm not sure of the occasion. It looks as if it might have been a birthday party. But at any rate, it was some sort of festivity. And we'll say it was Christmas because the next does show the way in which we have arranged our Christmas cards. We do not put up evergreen trees in our living room, partly because of lack of room, partly because we find this homemade tree of coat hangers and clothespins an ideal way to display our Christmas cards. Usually we like to decorate it with sprigs of holly or evergreen, but in any event, there's our Christmas tree. Outdoors, as you can see, it's winter, but I hasten to say it was not this year, for so far we have nothing but mild, wet weather. We did have a snowfall in March of this year, and I like very much this little picture which I called Courage, where the brave little crocuses, undeterred by 8 or 10 inches of wet, cold snow, are thrusting their heads up with their promise of spring to come. And spring does come. As you can see, these two grandparents outside with their backs to the ocean, their faces to the cottage, enjoying what has become to them a very dear and beloved spot. Looking from our sun deck in the opposite direction, rather in the same direction, but the opposite direction to which they are looking out to sea through the evergreens and toward Beach Point. As we look up the driveway toward the street, it looks something like this. There's no straight line in any of our paths. They're all curved, winding ones, which we personally find quite attractive. I need hardly say what the next two are. Those who have been here will recognize the cottage with the sea in the background, and in the second one, Ralph admiring a bed of red early tulips. The next occasion is, I think, one of our Christmas gatherings, I'm not sure, but to identify the people, reading from left to right, it's Eulalie, Myrtle, Kathy, David, myself, George, and Vernon. The next one was, I remember it as a Christmas party in which, among others, Jessie Weber, George's sister, and his mother, who was in the lower left-hand corner, were among the guests. The others, reading from left to right and beginning at the top, Michael, Kathy, David, with Lois and Myrtle sitting on the floor, apparently. Next is a gathering of the cousins. One occasion when Ruth was here, we invited John Watson and his wife Kay, Fran and Gordon Asselstein, and George and Lois Weber. The next is a montage that Myrtle made of the photographs of Lois's wedding. A very pretty wedding, we thought, and the pictures make a very pleasant souvenir of the beginning of a very lovely relationship and the founding of a happy and secure home, and a lovely home they've made of it. In South Granville, George has done a good deal of work on the house that they bought some 15 years ago, and they now have the most beautiful and comfortable and beautifully appointed home. In the distance may be seen the courageous and everlasting old Chrysler that has given us faithful service ever since 1940.
Where is that?
Next, we're back in the garden again, where Ralph and Millie are enjoying the sunshine and the geraniums in front of them. Next picture is taken at the same time, and with Millie and with Myrtle in it instead of Ralph. Then Grandma. She was somewhat disabled, but still very active and interesting right up to the time when she had to go into a nursing home. The barn in the distance belonged to the farm about 6 or 8 miles from Lindsay, where Grandma was born. It seems strange that she should have lived almost 104 years, lived and died in that same small area. Most of her married life was spent on the farm at Oakwood. The original home, as I vaguely remembered as a very small boy, was a frame house which was being torn down and replaced by a red brick one, the right-hand section that you see in the picture. The left-hand L was added sometime later. A beautiful location and lovely memories of that farm home. It's been sold a number of times, and we haven't seen it for several years. Here is Grandma with 3 succeeding generations. Allie on the left of the picture, Grace on the right, and in Grandma's arms is Grace's tiny baby. She has a daughter and a son, both of whom are now in university. Ralph and Grandma are here taking the air at Ocean Park. And the next one is Myrtle and Grandma. One of our visits to the east, Howard arranged that we have a very nice dinner at a roadside restaurant. I've forgotten the name of it. Grandma, of course, was the guest of honor. Those in the photograph, reading from left to right, are Allie and Howard, Marion, Millie, Ralph, Grandma, and Elsie, almost hidden by Grandma, and Bill. One of the rare occasions when we 3 brothers were together, this picture was taken on our little patio outside the cottage. It might have been about the same time, but I think it was much later, probably at a conference time. Frank, whom we saw quite frequently, and I had driven up to the top of Burnaby Mountain and are looking over the fantastic view up the North Arm toward the mountains. In 1955, Frank and Ella celebrated their golden wedding anniversary, and we all were invited to dinner at a country restaurant. In the picture, again from left to right, are Bob Hardy and his wife Eileen. Next, Janet. Behind her is Bill. Behind Bill is Margaret, his sister. The 3 children are Frank Jr.'s children, 2 of whom are married now. Ella has the smallest one in her arms. Behind Ella is Bill's Margaret, as we call her. Then to the right of the picture are Frank and myself. After the very lovely dinner, we adjourned to the Peace Arch Park, that beautifully kept garden of flowers and lawn and trees. Such a charming spot to spend an hour on a lovely summer day. Again, it's memories in this picture. May, Charlie's wife, who died a few years ago. Ella, who is now in a nursing home in Victoria. Mrs. MacDonald, who died some years ago after living with us for 15 or 20 years. And just out of the picture is Margaret. I thought you perhaps might be interested in this picture that was taken on one of our visits to Oakwood. When we drove to Little Britain, just west of Oakwood, where several of the Hardy family have been buried. My father, my first mother, my real mother, Frank, and my second mother are all buried there. In the monument, just in front of where I'm standing, is the Hardy family memorial. And now to complete this little record and to finish the tape, a few memories and pictures from earlier days back in Ocean Park. The first one is a nature shot that we obtained of a robin which had built its nest outside the window of our garage. After a great deal of difficulty in manipulating our camera, for we didn't have proper flash, we managed to get this shot of the bird on the nest. And then a few of the grandchildren when they were still grandchildren. One summer the boys were down here imagining they were Indians. We'd built a proper teepee. They had headbands complete with feathers. And here they're getting their bows and arrows ready, for the buffalo have been hunted and winter meat is needed. Meanwhile, the children spent more time in playing at gentler games than in hunting buffalo. And the little pool had its own attraction for the children, like to paddle their bare feet in it. And finally we come to the end of the set, and to end as we began, to remind ourselves that this is a Christmas broadcast, one more picture of a very happy memory of Christmas dinner which we had here in the cottage in earlier days. And as we looked out toward the east, there in the distance across the bay is the ever appealing picture of white-capped Mount Baker. And she's saying, as we now say to you, again, a Happy New Year to you all from both of us.